Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I'm going to be making an Elemental Shaman PvP guide. I've been playing a ton of my Ele Shaman, and a ton of you guys have been asking for an Elemental Shaman guide, so here it is. Just like in the past, guys, over my guides, we're going to be talking about talents and honor talents. We're going to be talking about goals and objectives. We're going to be talking about rotation, when you should be using each ability, and we're going to be talking about macros. But if you guys have any additional questions, make sure to leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer your guys' questions. But let's jump into it. First things first, guys, talents and honor talents. So in this right now it's patch 7.3, I believe, and in this first 15 row, guys, we're going to be taking Path of Flame. The reason being, guys, is because Flame Shock, spreading, Lava Burst, doing more consistent pressure is going to be so powerful in a lot of the compositions Ele Shamans can play right now. And we'll talk about compositions a little bit later in this video, but a lot of the rot pressure compositions like Ele Boomkin, Ele Shadow Priest, Ele Warrior, a lot of these compositions you kind of just rot down the enemy team, and then with this a little bit more like Lava Burst damage, so you Flame Shock 3 or 4 targets, you're throwing out instant Lava Burst everywhere. This is so much spread pressure that really just kind of outvalues Totem Mastery right now, and it outvalues Earthen Rage. So every single game I'm going Path of Flame. Here in the second row, I'm going Gust of Wind. I'm always playing Gust of Wind right now. It's pretty much a blink, guys. If you don't know what Gust of Wind is, it basically makes it so you can push in a little bit further to maybe land a Hex. It means you can pull out a little bit quicker if you need to line of sight. It means it gives you more mobility, and as an Ele Shaman, mobility is definitely very important. So every single game, you're going to be playing Gust of Wind, tied in with Ghost Wolf, tied in with knocking people back with Thunderstorm, tied in with your slows with Earth Grab Totem and Earthbind Totem, and then Gust of Wind. All of a sudden, you are a pretty good class at kiting, it turns out. It's very difficult for other players to connect, and this Gust of Wind is definitely a big part of that. So you have a lot of mobility with Ele Shaman. So Earth Grab Totem, as I just kind of said, guys, I am always playing Earth Grab Totem, and the reason being, the talents are pretty easy for Ele Shaman. I don't switch around too much, so you guys are in for an easy video today. But with Earth Grab Totem, guys, you can really just control the enemy teams, whether that's Earth Grab Totem into an Earthquake if they're kind of running, whether that's an Earth Grab Totem so you can land a Hex, whether that's an Earth Grab Totem on melee so you can kite. This Earth Grab Totem is so helpful, whether it's an Earth Grab Totem to help your Boomkin get the Cyclone, keeping someone in the spot that you want them even just for a second or two, and then providing that slow is incredibly important. Lightning Surge Totem, guys, can be used if you want to do more of a setup-based strategy or setup-based composition. I personally have been playing a lot of Ele Shaman Boomkin, played a little bit of like Ele Shaman Shadow Priest, Ele Shaman Warrior. With these compositions, guys, I would not really recommend Lightning Surge Totem. You can try it. I don't think it's the worst choice. And what you're going to want to do with Lightning Surge Totem, if you're going to go for these cap stuns, is, out of a Cyclone, have the totem blow up, do some damage in the stun, Earth Shock stun off of that, boom, that's a huge kill setup. But I personally prefer the Earth Grab Totem for the extra control. Another side note for why I don't use Cap Totem too much is because at higher ratings, guys, these Cap Totems are killed almost every single time, so you're not really going to get these Cap Totems very consistently, whereas Earth Grab is a very consistent totem. And then Voodoo Totem, guys, personally, I don't use it much at all, but once again, I think there is a time and a place for Voodoo Totem, and it's really using Voodoo Totem as a kick, and that might not initially make much sense, but if it hexes the enemy target, it's essentially stopping their cast from going through. So say a mage is trying to polymorph your healer, and you're playing with a Holy Paladin or something, or Holy Priest, and the mage is trying to sheep your healer, and you shear the poly. Cool. Then the mage starts to sheep your healer again. You don't have a shear available. Maybe you Earth Shock stun it. Cool. You stop the poly twice in a row, but then maybe he starts casting poly a third time. Voodoo Totem, guys, you can just put it down and it'll stop the poly, right? Which is very beneficial, because then your healer's not in the CC, and then hopefully by that time your wind shears back up, and then hopefully by that time you'll have another Earth Shock stun. So it just gives you something else to rotate through. Once again, guys, I almost prefer the extra control from the Earth Grab Totem in most situations, but I think Voodoo Totem is a great totem to stop goes on either against mage setup teams, so RMP namely, and then I think it also is very viable against Windwalker DK, as they do setups too. They'll grip in your healer, they'll go for the leg sweep, they'll go for the Fist of Fury. It's a very, very scripted composition. And against this Voodoo Totem, you know, as soon as the monk starts Fist of Furying, your healer, you know, grips in your extra DPS or grips in your healer, they go for the leg sweep, boom, you throw down the Voodoo Totem, messes up their whole go. So against go-based comps like Windwalker DK or RMP, Voodoo Totem can definitely throw a wrench in their plan. Okay, so here for the next row, I would be going with Ancestral Swiftness every single time. I know for a minute there, Aftershock was a little bit better as far as value, but I think right now, guys, the 6% haste, you just can't really beat it. You know, getting out more spread pressure, helping you get these hexes, just getting more purges out, just everything is a little bit quicker. The value is just there, and I go Ancestral Swiftness every single game. Elemental Fusion, kind of like Path of Flame, guys, same reasoning. We're just getting more Flame Shocks, more Lava Bursts. Lava Surge, guys, is your instant, right here, your instant Lava Burst. It'll, you know, give you another Lava Burst and have it be instant cast, so you just destroy people, right? So it's a 5% increased chance to destroy people, and then that paired with Path of Flame, guys, you're just throwing Lava Bursts everywhere. This is Ellie Shaman consistent pressure. It's very scary right now with, you know, 2, 3, 4 Flame Shocks out, just throwing meatballs everywhere. That's very, very good consistent pressure when you don't have your burst up. We'll talk about more bursts later, but, you know, Stormkeeper, Ice Fury, and Sky Fury mainly for your bursts. So Echo of Elements, guys, this is going to give your Lava Burst 2 charges, and this is really the name of the game right now. So with Path of Flame, Elemental Fusion, and Echo of Elements, you have a lot of these meatballs, you have a lot of these Lava Bursts that you can throw out everywhere. You're gonna, you know, other effects that reset its remaining cooldown will grant 1 charge instead, so you can get up to 2. That's why you see the little 2 by my Lava Burst, and you'll have 2 stacks of Lava Burst pretty much always ready to go, and you're just flinging them out instant cast when you can. You can cast them when you don't have an instant cast either. So Ice Fury, guys, so always Echo of Elements. I don't ever go these two. Just to be fair, I think some people run Storm Elemental sometime, but I'm always Echo of Elements. Ice Fury, guys, 30-second cooldown, so much burst. I know Lightning Rod might seem very tempting, but the damage from Ice Fury, guys, is like unparalleled, especially we're gonna get here in a second, but when you run Fire and Ice with Ice Fury, you have some insane burst windows, and I'm gonna talk about that in the rotation section of the guide, so let me get there. But Ice Fury, guys, always choose it. It's basically, you know, your next 4 Frost Shocks are dealing 400% more damage. You're just boom, flinging out those Frost Shocks, flinging out those meatballs, so much consistent pressure. And then the actual Ice Fury itself does a lot of damage as well. So always go Ice Fury. Moving on to Honor Talents now, guys. Trinket, I play like 99.9% of games. I would never play Adaptation, I don't think, and Relentless is something that initially I thought would be very good. You know, I am Orc. If you are talking about, you know, what race to be, I would be Orc. For Horde, if you're Alliance, I guess Dwarf. But guys, Relentless, like, it feels good, but so many compositions, guys. If you play Relentless, you play against an RMP, they're gonna kill you in a smoke bomb every time. You know, they're just gonna kill you with every single cooldown. That Trinket is gonna allow you to get out of smoke bombs. It's gonna allow you to Trinket stop ghosts. It's gonna allow so much more and so much more counterplay. And, you know, having stuns just last a little bit longer is totally okay too. So I play Trinket every single game. If you guys want to mess around with Relentless, I would say that's fine. But Trinket does feel a little bit more well-rounded when you're peeling for your healer, peeling for your other DPS, or peeling for yourself as well. Mind Quickness, guys, that 6% haste, like before, guys, so much value. Always play Mind Quickness, and stacking that with Ancestral Swiftness, you're going to have quite a bit of haste there. So I'm always playing these two. So Sky Fury Totem is pretty much always the pick right now. Assuming you're playing with another caster, right? I always play with another caster right now in the current metagame. Counter-Strike Totem used to be a pick that a lot of people went to, but, you know, people just kill Counter-Strike Totem so fast, kind of like the whole Cap Totem thing. You can mess around with it. If you're at lower rating and people aren't really killing Counter-Strike Totems very quickly, you can get a ton of value out of it. So, like, you can definitely experiment with it. I definitely think Sky Fury is a much better choice, especially as you get higher and higher up on the ladder, because the thing is, guys, Sky Fury paired with an Ice Fury or a Stormkeeper or that Earthshock stun, just incredible amounts of damage. So it's adding to your burst, and it's helping your teammates, you know, have their crits go a little bit higher as well. So Sky Fury every single game, in my opinion. Now, this is the tricky one. So Spectral Recovery versus Swelling Waves. I never played Purifying Waters. I play Swelling Waves against, for sure, against double caster compositions, right? Because a lot of the games against double caster, you know what happens? It's going to be a line of sight fest. Everyone's going to be playing next to their pillars, and basically what you're going to do is just healing surge on yourself, and that same heal is going to be reflected back 3 seconds later. You're going to get so much value out of that. Now, Spectral Recovery is much better against melee that are very difficult to kite, right? Spectral Recovery, if you don't think you can slip behind a pillar, and you don't think you can, you know, get those heals off because of stuns, kicks, you can't really make any distance, then Spectral Recovery is the way to go, because then you're just going to stay in Ghost Wolf, get that healing, get that initial movement speed, kite a little bit better, and you weren't really going to get the heals off anyway. And then you can still heal, it's just not going to heal as much. So this is kind of a judgment call. You can kind of mess around with both of them. Personally, I like Swelling Waves against a lot of stuff. I play a lot with the Holy Priest, so I play the playstyle I do with my Holy Priest, I play very far from him. If you saw my video like 2 videos ago, I talked about my positioning on my LE Shaman. But I like Swelling Waves so I can kind of heal myself, keep myself up, you know, when my healer is very far away. But against like a Demon Hunter Warrior, I really like Spectral Recovery. Against like Windwalker DK, against things that are very hard to kite, I go Spectral Recovery. And against this Caster Cleaves, we'll go Swelling Waves. Okay, Fire and Ice. This is what I was hinting towards earlier. This talent is amazing, amazing, amazing. Always go Fire and Ice. Flame Shock and Frost Shock no longer consume additional Maelstrom. So basically, guys, you can just infinitely Flame Shock, infinitely Frost Shock, and it's not going to cost any Maelstrom at all. If you didn't have it, it would cost Maelstrom, you know, 0 to 20 Maelstrom each. This is what is really going to allow you to keep up the Flame Shocks on, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets. You know, just spread your Flame Shocks everywhere. This is what also is going to allow you to get a lot of value with Ice Fury, because your 4 Frost Shocks that are doing 400% increased damage cost 0 Maelstrom. And the damage of Frost Shock is increased by 100%. Reason being, if it's costing 0, that means it's really not going to do any damage, so they give it a 100% damage buff to kind of compensate for that. So it's basically like every single Frost Shock is doing 100% increased damage through Fire and Ice, but then you also get a 400% increase through Ice Fury. So guys, when you're getting those Frost Shocks off with Ice Fury, you're doing so much damage. So Fire and Ice, guys, is really the name of the game right now. It defines your entire play style. And then Earth Fury, this is your Earth Shock stun at 100 Maelstrom. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more here in a second, but this is such a good ability defensively because you can stop ghosts. It's also very good offensively because you can kill people. You know, you can... I got a kill the other day where I Earth Furied into a full Hammer of Justice and then Earth Furied after again because I got back up to 100 Maelstrom. And the stun does not DR with any other stun in the game, not even itself. So you can 2-second stun into a 6-second stun into a 2-second stun. That's crazy. 10-second stun out of nowhere. Definitely always go Earth Fury. So that pretty much wraps up talents and honored talents. So let's move on to your goals and objectives as an LE Shaman. So we have like a kind of a tier list I want to walk through you guys with, right? So we have a defensive kind of what I'd like to call like a defensive stabilization stage where you want to make sure you're a-okay, and I'm going to talk about all the things you want to do in this stage. But if everything is looking good, then you're going to be going to offensive pressure. That means starting to spread pressure, maybe start bursting once things are looking juicy, and then you're kind of just bouncing back and forth between these stages as the game goes on. You kind of have to decide for yourself. You have to think for yourself, you know, should I be playing a little bit more defensively and control the pace of the game, or is it time for me to start pumping the heat? I do quickly want to note, guys, that Earth Fury, the Earth Shock stun, if you're using percentages as an LE Shaman, can be used at 81% Maelstrom. The reason being is because the Earth Shock is at 100 Maelstrom, it will stun somebody, right? And with this new talent right here, Swelling Maelstrom increases the maximum Maelstrom and the maximum cost of Earth Shock by 25. So really, 100 out of 125 will stun the target. So if you're playing with numbers on, 100 Maelstrom will stun the target. If you're playing with percentages on, 81% Maelstrom will stun the target. Very important to know, and shout out to my friend Oz for sharing this with me. I actually didn't know this about a week ago, so thank you. But anyways, guys, getting back into the goals and objectives, I just wanted to share the Earth Shock stun because it'll be very relevant when we're talking about this. But control is one of your number one, you know, concepts is LE Shaman, right? And what I mean by that is hexing targets that need to be hexed, okay? There's nothing I can really hex around here. But, you know, keeping the hex on cooldown. If they have a hex spell, you don't quite need to worry about it too much. But this also means root totems, you know, like making sure that the enemies are controlled with your roots. That means making sure that you have... you know, multiple targets with Frost Shock on them so they can't really move. That means if the mage is going for a polymorph, that you shear it. That means if the boomkin's going for a cyclone, you knock it back. That means so many different things. And if all of your control is already used and the game is still kind of spiraling out of control, guess what? Now you have your heals and you're kind of acting as a second healer. Guys, this is what sets Ellie Shamans apart from every other class. Their ability to single-handedly, you know, oh, you're dying? Let me throw you an Earth Grab totem. Let me throw you a Hex. Let me throw you an Off Heal. Let me throw you a Shear. Let me throw you a Knockback. Let me throw you an Earthbind. Let me throw you, like, so many different kinds of peels and control. This is your #1 thing, guys. I really want to stress this before we get into any type of damage. This is your role as an Ellie Shaman. Controlling the game. Shearing, purging, rooting, slowing, hexing, knocking, Earthshock stunning to stop casts. You can control the outcome of the game so much as an Ellie Shaman compared to almost any other class in the game right now, just by all of your control abilities. That means stopping CC, stopping these CC chains, you know, purging critical abilities like Icy Veins or Power Infusion or, you know, Pally Aura Mastery, using Purge to your advantage, using Hex to kind of, you know, if a rogue pops his, you know, Shadow Dance, or you can just hex it. You know, Windwalker or Fist of Furies, you hex it. A lot of these abilities, guys, are so much, they're like in your control. So use your defensive abilities to stop it. I guess I've kind of hit that nail on the hammer, hit that hammer on the nail, hit that nail on the hammer pretty hard. Yeah, whatever. You know the saying. And then off heals, you know, from there. Once the game's under control, we're going to throw out some off heals. Okay, so now offensive pressure, guys. Once everything's under control, usually, you know, a lot of the game, this is going to be the case. Once everything's under control, now you start doing offensive pressure. I would recommend starting with some spread pressure. What that's going to look like is a Flame Shock on one target, Flame Shock on a second, maybe Flame Shock onto a third or even a fourth target. That means Flame Shock on, you know, 3-4 targets. That means throwing out your Lava Burst when you can. That means keeping Ice Fury, Stormkeeper, and Lava Burst off of cooldown. Now, initially, as I say that, it might seem like a very easy job, but as I'm going to show you here in a second, it provides for a lot of cast before you're really going to Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning. And you throw in some utility with that. You're throwing in, you know, a Hex every now and then, some Roots every now and then, an Earthshock stun every now and then, a Shear, maybe a heal or two every now and then. That means you're pretty much never casting, guess what? Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning. That doesn't mean you never cast them. That means you almost don't have time to cast them a lot of the time. One thing that I did want to point out, guys, that's very, very, very important is that you have 3 schools as an Ellie Shaman. You have Fire for Lava Burst, you have Frost for Ice Fury, and you have the Nature for Stormkeeper, or some, you know, your Roots, your Lightning Bolt. So how incredible is that? If you get kicked on, say, you know, a Stormkeeper, you can cast that Ice Fury. You get kicked on the Ice Fury, you can cast a Lava Burst. You get kicked on the Lava Burst, guess what? Your Stormkeeper lockouts back up. You can always do something as an Ellie Shaman, which makes the class so, so fun right now. So, guys, keeping that spread pressure up, you're going to be throwing it out. For the burst, like we said earlier, that's going to be Sky Fury. So it might look like something like Sky Fury Totem Sound. You're going to throw out a meatball. You're going to throw out a second meatball. You maybe throw out a third meatball. You're going to always keep Ice Fury on cooldown. Make sure the 4th meatball is down. Throw up some more Flame Shocks. Another meatball. You have 4 Frost Shocks. This add-on's called Tell Me When if you want to download it. You have 4 instant Frost Shocks, 82%. We're going to use our Earthshock stun. Always want to use that stun when it's available. Another Lava Burst. You have 3 stacks of instant cast Lightning Bolts. Another Lava Burst. Keep up more Flame Shocks. You want to control. Maybe throw out an Earth Grab. A Root, maybe Hex this guy. Can't hex him because he's a target dummy. Do some more damage, more instant cast. Guess what I haven't casted yet? Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt. Another Ice Fury because it's back off cooldown. Another Earthshock stun because it's back off cooldown. Throwing some more instant meatballs, more instant Frost Shocks, more instant meatballs, more instant Frost Shocks. The reason I'm being so annoying about this, guys, is because I see too many Ellie Shamans casting Lightning Bolts. I guess I still haven't had time to cast Lightning Bolt between all of this. Maybe root something, maybe control. We're going to knock something back. We're going to throw out a Purge or two. We have another Lava Burst to cast. We have another, you know, maybe throw out some slows with the Frost Shocks, another Lava Burst, another Earthshock stun, another Lava Burst. another Ice Fury. Basically, my point is, guys, you don't have time, if you're playing Shaman correctly, really to cast Lightning Bolt. Does this mean you're never going to cast it? No. Okay, if people are stacked and you want to get a Chain Lightning or two to build up some Maelstrom, go for it. You know, if you have Power the Maelstrom proc like I do right now, Lightning Bolt will trigger Elemental Overload in additional time, and you don't have much else to cast, go for it. Okay, so that's pretty much your offensive pressure, guys. These are your goals and objectives. I guess I went into a lot of rotation there as well, so the guide is a little out of place. I'll make sure the headings are correct. But that is a lot of the goals, objectives, and rotation here, actually. And I do want to note as well that Stormkeeper, you want to use Lightning Bolt if you're really doing some single target damage and you have Power of the Maelstrom procced. If you don't have Power of the Maelstrom procced, we are going to go with the Chain Lightning if it's going to hit multiple targets. So I'd say Chain Lightning like 80% of the time, 90% of the time. If it's going to hit multiple targets, you know, you don't have Power of the Maelstrom, you're not really bursting, you're just kind of trying to kill everyone, which is your goal like most of the time, then you're going to spam out those Chain Lightnings, okay? If you Power the Maelstrom, single target, you're really just killing one person, the enemy team's not stacked, that's when you're going to Lightning Bolt with your Stormkeeper. So hopefully that clears that up. Just as a quick side note, guys, Fire Elemental, you always want to keep it on cooldown. Earth Elemental, you can always keep it on cooldown as well. You can only have one out at a single time. And I just want to make sure that every single ability here I'm pretty much covering on the screen. So, and I just realized I didn't cover Astral Shift. So this is a 1.5 minute cooldown Shield Wall. 40% less damage taken for 8 seconds. Shield Wall, guys, just like any other class. That's why I kind of like running Trinket on my Shaman. You can Trinket Shield Wall. A lot of the times, though, guys, what you're going to want to do with the LE Shaman is just kite with Ghost Wolf. Just time and time again, I see Shamans just using wall too early or using defensives too early. Guys, if you can kite just a little bit, even if you're, say, 30-20% health, you can throw the Earthbind down, kite, get behind the corner, put out a Healing Surge or two. With Swelling Waves, guys, look how much healing this is. The healing is going to begin to duplicate. I'm actually not in PvP combat, and this is an honor talent, so it's not going to work. But that's just so much healing because the healing is duplicated. It's actually 50%, not the same amount, but 50% 3 seconds later. So that's just so much damage. And I just want to make sure, so we covered the defensive stabilization, guys. We covered the offensive pressure, the spread pressure, and then how you're going to burst. You know, you're bursting with Sky Fury, you're bursting with Ice Fury, 81% Maelstrom, you're throwing out a stun, you're throwing out more Frost Shocks, you're throwing out instant Chain Lightnings or Lightning Bolts if you have Power of the Maelstrom. And then, you know, Lava Burst is to keep up that consistent pressure. That's kind of how you're consistent pressuring and bursting as an LE Shaman. And then that's really how your consistent pressure is going to work as well. And as far as Earthquake, guys, Earthquake is kind of like the last ability that I haven't really covered too much here. Earthquake, you don't want to use it too much, but if the enemy team is stacked up but by like behind a pillar, or, you know, all three of them are kind of just staying in one location, you can definitely Earthquake. Now that gives them two options. They stay in the Earthquake and they get knocked down and they take a lot of damage, or they move from stacked up, and that's good anyway because then you get to continue the game. So Earthquake kind of like gets the game out of a stalemate, if you want to say it like that. And that pretty much covers, guys, like defensive, offensive plays, and LE Shaman, your goals, objectives, talents, and honor talents. And then quickly, I wanted to show you guys some of my macros. I don't use too many in-depth macros, but we have Arena 123 Wind Shear. I'll leave a link to the macros down below. We have Arena 123 Wind Shear. We have a Focus Wind Shear, very basic. Here I have a Flame Shock macro. It just takes me out of Ghost Wolf. So if I'm in Ghost Wolf, I hit my Flame Shock macro, it takes me out. Not needed. It also dismounts me. Not needed. Just something I like. I have a mouse over Cleanse Spirit, so if I want to Cleanse Spirit my ally, I can just mouse over him and cleanse the spirit, you know, decurse a hex, something like that. We have a Focus Earthshock, a Focus Hex, a Focus Purge. I'm a mouse over a Healing Surge, so I can Healing Surge my partners very easily, just like my mouse over decurse, and a Party 1-2 Cleanse Spirit. I don't actually use these right now. I've used them in the past. Sometimes I make keybinds for them, but right now I'm just using my mouse over. So pretty much, guys, Arena 123 Shear. Focus Shear, Focus Earthshock, Focus Hex, Focus Purge, and then mouse over decurse and heal. Kind of very basic macros, but that's just kind of what I use. Guys, I hope this video is super helpful, getting you guys learning about elemental shamans, kind of how you should be playing it, your talents, your choices, your offensive, your defensive. If you guys liked this video, you like this formatting, make sure to share with a friend. First of all, help out to the community, get a little bit better at LA Shaman, but make sure to thumbs video up if you liked it, guys. Thumbs video down if you didn't like it, and if you did thumbs video down, tell me why, you know what I can do differently to improve these videos, and then talk to me in the comments below, guys. If I missed anything in the guide, you have any additional questions, make sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.